You are listening to Able Radio, simplifying productivity for small business owners everywhere. If you are looking for 1% improvements that add up to big results, this is the place for you. Every week, we learn about simple systems and tools that will help you build the business and life you've always wanted. Now here's your host, Zachary Sexton.
Welcome to Able Business Radio. My name is Zachary Sexton, and today I have with me an old friend, Miss Courtney Carver. How's it going, Courtney?
Hey, Zach. How are you?
I'm doing really well. It's a bright, sunny day here in Austin, Texas, and I apologize for the inversion there in Salt Lake City. It's not as happy there until they get some rain, right?
Right. The rain will push the inversion out, but right now it's a little cold and a little overcast, but I'm sure sunny days are coming.
Well, good, because those make me feel good, and getting outside is something that always helps me with my individual productivity, and that's a little bit of the topic that we are going to be diving into today. It's a different angle. A lot of times when people think of productivity, they think of getting things done and checking things off the to-do list and being hyper efficient. Being able to get a lot done in a little bit of time, but I think, and you think too, I think we're in agreement with that. There's another perspective out there, and rather than doing more, it's more being intentional about what you do with your time, what you do with your energy, what you do with your intention, and being able to do more and be more with less. And that's what you talk about on your blog, BeMoreWithLess.com. It's also what you speak to. Could you give us the story behind the blog? Because actually, I really like how you came to be a writer in this space, that in simplicity and minimalism.
Sure. Well, before I started doing this, I worked in sales where I pretty much measured my day by dollars and deadlines, and definitely getting it done and getting it done fast and getting more done than anyone else. That was really how I was driven. And so the efficiency and productivity and all of those things, like wherever I could squeeze an extra minute out of the day, I was down for that information. But I did it to such a level that really ended up burning myself out, and for two reasons. One, because I was just going at this unsustainable pace. And two, because I was doing something that I didn't enjoy. And I was doing it because I could make a lot of money doing it. And I needed to do that because I was so deep in debt that I had to keep focusing on making ends meet, which for me, the answer was always, well, then I have to make more. So I have to do more and prove to everyone else that I am more. And that was exhausting. And eventually it caught up with me. And in 2006, after months of vertigo and really weird symptoms like tingling in my hands and face, and I mean vertigo to the point where I would have to hold onto the walls at some point during the day. And I think that all kind of started around April of 2006. And after every neurological exam that you could think of, I was finally in July diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And I like to point out, I think it's important to note that I don't think that was the cause of the disease, my stress and busyness and crazy lifestyle. But I do think it definitely exacerbated the symptoms. And for a long time, I didn't feel well, but I didn't even recognize it because it was just my normal. So being tired and worn down, I just thought that was the price you pay. But eventually the price got too high and I had to make a change.
Wow. And what was that change? Did you have to leave that job or renegotiate your hours?
Well, what happened was once I had that diagnosis, I knew that, something had to change or else my health was going to decline pretty quickly. And I started researching, how do people live well with MS? What causes MS flares? What can I do in addition to working with a great neurologist that would help me in terms of lifestyle changes? And all of my research kept pointing to stress being very damaging. And I just made it my mission to eliminate as much stress as possible, knowing that I can't control the world, but that there are some things I can control. And I didn't call it simplifying my life then. I didn't know that's what I was going to do, but I knew I was going to start bit by bit eliminating stress. It started with my diet. When that felt like the new normal, I looked at the next big source of stress in my life, which was debt. And while we started paying off our consumer debt, we noticed that we were still adding to the debt by buying things that we thought we deserved, especially me for working so hard. I never really noticed the vicious circle until this point, but because of all the hours I was putting in, I thought I deserved a nice car. I deserved a great vacation. I deserved all of these things that I was working so hard to get. It started not to make sense to me. So we decided to look at our clutter and our stuff and the stress that that was causing. And as we were eliminating that source of stress, that's really when it hit me that the root of every change I had been making was within simplicity and really being more thoughtful about what I wanted to surround myself with, both with physical items, with what was going through my brain, the people I was surrounding myself with, the work I was doing. And it was a few years after that I left my job after I had started Be More with Less to really talk about my journey and see if it was something that I could take and create a business out of, because it was so powerful in my life. I wanted to see if I could share that message, connect with like-minded people, and really start doing work that I cared about versus work that I had to do to pay the bills.
If someone's out there listening and maybe don't have a large medical diagnosis like you had that's forcing this, but feels like they're stressing and pushing extremely hard, maybe resonate with your story of needing to earn a lot to pay back some of the consumer and behavior that they have going on there that they might not have noticed was as out of control as they might have thought, because you're right. If you work hard, you do deserve something. It's easy to feel that way, but until you start to realize those things that you think are giving you pleasure actually are possibly stealing your energy away because you have to work harder to afford those things. Where would you suggest starting on the journey? You said you started with working on, what was it?
Diet.
Your debt?
I started
your
with
diet first, yeah.
I don't think it really matters that much where you start, especially if you know that you are in it for the long haul. However, one of the reasons that I was so excited to be able to share my wake-up call is so other people might be able to avoid theirs, so that when they're getting those smaller calls, like I have a headache, I have the flu, I'm run down, I'm annoyed, and they notice that they're medicating with shopping, food, alcohol, whatever it is that you use to make yourself feel better in those situations, to listen, to hear that those are messages that your body is sending or that your brain is sending. And so when you feel run down, your body isn't saying, let's go shopping and make us feel better. Your body's saying, take care of me. And if I guess what I'm saying is that even if you don't think you've gotten a wake-up call, you probably have. So where to start? Start by noticing. Just the simple act of noticing before things get completely out of control can save you so much time, energy, heartache. It's unbelievable. And then once you start noticing and keep listening and respond in a way that honors the fact that you are paying attention. And the simplicity component, especially getting rid of the stuff and the debt and a lot of stress, opens up even more room for that listening and to be able to pay attention to what your body wants, what your heart wants, how you want to respond throughout the day. I think it's very easy to overreact to anything. And when you're not feeling well, everything feels worse than it is, or better than it is, or just more drama, more dramatic. But when we can slow down and think about how we want to process information and respond, that goes away as well.
Do you have any strategies specifically on noticing or keeping that intention or awareness?
I do. I highly recommend a morning practice. And my morning practice or morning routine started back in 2006, about, 5 or 6 months after I was diagnosed. I started going to an early morning yoga class and taking actually private classes because I wanted to develop my own home practice. And so I would go and do these private classes really early in the morning. And that translated into my own yoga practice at home that was 5 minutes long, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but it's all on a regular basis I felt like I could commit to at first. So every morning I would wake up a little bit early and practice yoga for 5 minutes. And even just that, 5 minutes, helped me start to be more intentional and thoughtful and aware during the day. And about a month or two in, I added 5 minutes of sitting quietly. And then I added 5 minutes of writing. And this became, through this process of habit stacking, my morning routine. And it's changed over the years. Back when I started, it was 5 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. And now most days it's 2 or 3 hours. And sitting quietly is the time where I can just devote completely to listening. And that might look like a guided meditation. It might look like a breath practice, focusing on timed breathing. Or I may be sitting with my hands on my heart, both hands over my heart, asking myself questions and listening for the answers. And I don't always get the answers in that session, but perhaps they arrive during the day. But whatever that is, if things get crazy during the day, in my mind, I can always go back to that time in the morning that I spent fueling myself for the day. And it makes it so much easier to underreact.
I like how all of the practices that you started adding in your morning ritual are there to help you get outside of your brain. The yoga there to help you be physically present, either with your breath or with your body. The meditation to either pay attention to the guidance or the breath or the body scan. And when you're doing that, your mind will inevitably wander, and then you have to bring it back. And that noticing is what allows you to be aware of that chatter that's always going on in your head. And then the writing too. I've found journaling for myself is another really powerful way to get those thoughts that are running around in your head repeatedly, that rumination, down on paper in black and white. It doesn't seem like such a big deal when you write it down. You're like, oh, okay, I can handle that. So that's wonderful. And the idea of habit stacking, I don't know if you got that from James Clear or BJ Fogg or some of the other wonderful habit formation gurus out there. But that's powerful because when you start to create a habit or a ritual, it's something that just happens automatically. It's brushing your teeth or sitting down in the car and you just automatically put on your seatbelt and you don't have to think about it. So it is another way of freeing up cognitive resources and reducing decision fatigue. Can you talk to us about decision fatigue?
Well, it's not good for you.
First off, what is it? And then maybe tell us a little bit about your your relationship with it. You and I a couple of years back were putting a talk together on willpower and decision fatigue, and you just had one last year that started this cool movement that I want to talk about in a minute. But yeah, what is decision fatigue, and what are some ways of quashing it?
Sure. I think most people suffer from some level of decision fatigue, but it's only been pretty recently that we're talking about it sort of mainstream. And it starts with all of the things that we're doing in a day, the things that we commit to, the things that just are part of our daily process, from what are we going to have for breakfast to what am I going to wear today, to how am I going to respond at this meeting? And then if you start to kind of drill down into just those things, there's hundreds of decisions within each part of those that we're responding to. And I don't even think we're always fully aware that it's happening. I mean, take, for instance, the grocery store. When you walk into the grocery store, if you look at what your options are, I mean, that's exhausting right there. If you don't go in with a plan, by the time you leave the grocery store, if it's a big shopping trip, you have really depleted your brain of making any clear decision, probably for the rest of the day. And I think the morning routine I was talking about really helps because when you wake up, here is my routine for the first hour of the day. I don't have to think about what it is I'm going to do. I just am going to do these things. And if you eat the same meals every day, or maybe the same breakfast, for instance, that's very helpful. Routine is a very powerful antidote to decision fatigue. But also limiting the number of decisions that you're making just by assessing how much you're committing to and what your daily schedule is like.
One of the ways you could, and thank you for that definition and that example, grocery stores can be overwhelming for me too, because I'm trying to balance, okay, well, I want to be on budget, but I want to be healthy, but this looks delicious right now. So I definitely understand the need to come in with a game plan. Otherwise, the marketing and the product placement will often get the best of you, and I think that can be translated into so many different other areas too. It's just your day.
Course. And if you're stressed, hungry, not feeling well, whatever it is, and then you walk into the grocery store, it's times 10.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I deserve this chocolate bar.
Right.
I didn't have a good night's sleep last night. So one of the decisions that a lot of people make every single day, and some people put more or less thought into it, is what they wear. And you have this Project 333 that apparently is on the road. I did not realize that until we were just started chatting before we hit record. Can you tell us about Project 333?
Definitely. In 2010, when I was, in the midst of really decluttering, paying down my debt even more, ready just to be done with all of that, I realized that all of my slow and steady changes were working, but there was one area of my home that just wouldn't fly, and that was in my closet. And I had backburnered my closet and clothes because I just couldn't imagine downsizing that area of my life. I was a pretty big shopper. I shopped for every event and emotion. I always needed something new for whatever it was, the season or a new client or a meeting or a corporate event, whatever it was. I always felt like I needed something new, and it was just a bad habit I had fallen into. So I decided to create some boundaries and made this challenge, Minimalist Fashion Challenge, Project 333, where for 3 months I would dress with only 33 items, including clothing, accessories, jewelry, and shoes. And I was working full time and running the blog on the side. So I was a little nervous that maybe people would notice and also that maybe it won't work. I mean, I had no idea if I could even pull it off. but I chose my 33 items and then boxed everything else up and got it out of sight. So in my closet, we're only hanging probably about 20 items, because with the shoes and the accessories, I counted my purse and my sunglasses, all the things. I just wanted.
You even count the sunglasses.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Wow. Hardcore.
I wanted a timeout from the clothes. And while it was really scary getting started because I didn't know what to expect, within a week, I noticed that my mornings were easier, that people didn't notice at all. They weren't paying attention to what I was wearing. And I was actually really enjoying the process. And so today, it's been 6.5 years now, I still follow the rules of Project 333 and dress with 33 items or less every 3 months.
Oh, is he a quarterly thing that you do? You kind of put yourself through to make sure that. What does that do? Doing that every year for you?
Well, I do it every quarter because I live in a place where the seasons change pretty dramatically. And I wanted to, and that's not to say there are 33 different items for each quarter. In fact, more than half of the things that I wore in the fall, I wear in the winter, and then more than half of the things that I wear in the spring, I wear in the summer. So it's not like, I'm going to go buy a whole new capsule wardrobe for this upcoming season. It's really, at the beginning of the next season, I'll look at what's hanging in my closet and see what I want to move forward. I'll bring a few other things out, put a few things away, and then see if there's anything I need to add. And most often the answer is no. But where I used to shop every weekend, at least, now at most I shop every quarter, and usually it's less than that. And when I do go shopping, I know exactly what I need. My leggings have worn out, so I'm going to buy a new pair, or whatever it is. It's become pretty routine for me not to change things up. I'm not going to go and buy the latest new fashion trend to add to my 33 items.
And go from weekly to every 12, 13 weeks. That's time too. Even if you had unlimited financial resources, which nobody does, it's so much time.
Time, money, and it wasn't just the time spent buying the item. It was the time researching it. So waiting for it to go on sale, or getting excited because I was going to get extra points on a credit card, or whatever it was. It was all consuming. If I really think about it, it took a lot of time and energy to shop the way I did. And you would never have walked into my closet or my home and thought, oh boy, shopaholic. But it was still bad.
One program, I didn't even think of those ancillary ones that you'd thought of either. With like, is it on sale? Am I going to get the double points? Yeah, that agreed. I can't relate as much to this problem. I'm sort of I naturally eschew collecting things. I don't like clutter, and I don't like shopping. So never a problem for me. But I do happen to be living with somebody who used to do a little bit of retail therapy. She's actually not so much anymore. One of the things that you offer with a few of your other minimalist simplicity folks is something called a simple year. Would you talk about that? I actually find this very fascinating, something that maybe next year I might want to join because I really like the idea and the way you guys set it up.
Yeah, it's a year-long program that has been going. This 2017 will be year number 4. And I got together with some of I think, the best authors and simplicity advocates in the space, and asked them to contribute a month of content. So 1 month, for instance, will focus on clutter. That's what January is. February is all about simplifying busyness. So really getting some white space on your calendar. And then each month is a different topic. And we go through, I won't name all 12, but travel and cooking and money. But we really like to give people a chance to just focus on one thing at a time. Because for most of us, definitely for myself, I used to try to do this like, okay, I'm going to change everything about my life today. And if it doesn't work by tomorrow, then I am a total failure. And maybe it was 21 days, whatever it was. But my changes took years. It took me years to become a healthier, happier version of myself. And it could never have happened, A, overnight, or B, all at once. And so this course is really a reflection of that, where each month we focus on a different topic. And at the end of the year, we provide all the content, all the webinar recordings for the entire year in a PDF for members so that they can continue to develop this foundation they've laid during the year.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The long-term changes that are done slowly by just focusing on one area, growing that one area, putting some automaticity to it. So let's say you have a morning routine that helps you with your mental clutter, or you figure out some sort of budgeting or cadence with that for your money. And then you have that in place and you can move on to the next. And you're not getting decision fatigue because you're not trying to do all the things at once. It just the slow and the steady wins the race in that area. So cool. I'll be sure to get a link that we can put in the show notes for people who want to check that out next year, because I understand you guys closed down for 2017, but hopefully 2018, me and other listeners can get on board that. That sounds great.
Well, thank you.
Courtney, I really appreciate you coming on. When it comes to the Project 333, you said you have this tiny wardrobe tour.
It's called the Tiny Wardrobe Tour. And I should mention I might actually be coming to Austin in March for that. So I'll keep you posted.
Well, then I am going to that.
That'd be awesome. So yeah, I decided last year after, in fact, the presentation I did about decision fatigue and willpower, when I mentioned to the conference attendees that one of the ways they could reduce decision fatigue was by trying Project 333. And that recommendation was maybe 90 seconds of the 30-minute presentation. And the next day we all got together to talk about decision fatigue, but instead we spent an hour talking about Project 333. So I could see that there was some interest and decided to pack up my tiny wardrobe and visit 16 cities last year, thanks to some great volunteers and all the people that attended. And I've decided to do it again this year.
So is this just a display here, or all my clothing? It can fit on this table, or how does it work?
So in each venue, we've arranged to have a wardrobe rack and about 20 hangers. And I bring my entire wardrobe in a carry-on bag and hang it up so that people can actually see what 33 items looks like.
Yeah.
Although I stress throughout the entire thing that these 33 items work very well for my lifestyle, they may not work for you. And that's the reason I don't ever share, what the labels are that I wear or where I shop, because I just don't think that matters. We kind of have to all find the things that work best for us and not get caught in this trap of, oh, that's what I should have. Those are the perfect pair of jeans. Because I know from my many years of professional shopping that there is no perfect pair of anything.
Of professional shopping. Take it from the pros. I really, one thing that resonates, and that's why I asked you to tell your story at the very beginning, is that you aren't some guru. You aren't somebody who has always just been zen and done the yoga in the morning and meditated and had very few clothes and had no debt. And no, you really struggled with this. And I feel like the people who struggle in a certain area make the best teachers. Part of the reason why I teach productivity and learning how to focus and how to write things down in a systematic way, and how to automate and delegate what you can and organize and review and do all the things that you want to get done on a regular basis, is because I really struggled in that area. And once I started finding some systems and some tools that worked for me, I was just so excited. I wanted to share it with everyone. And it sounds like you have done the same with your blog and with the speaking engagements that you do, with your book that's coming out, with your courses, with this documentary that I did not watch before that I'm going to talk about afterwards. So don't beat me up that I didn't realize you were in. Amazing. It's on Netflix. I'm assuming it's going to be amazing because I haven't watched it yet, but I've heard great things.
It's really good. It's really good. And the guys from the Minimalist.com, Joshua and Ryan, actually created it and put it together, and they came out to Utah and interviewed me for a segment of it. But it's called Minimalism, and it is really a cool film.
I'm excited to dive in. I explained before, I'll give my excuse on the air too. It was late. It was about 7 o'clock, and I was like, Courtney would want me to start getting ready for bed and doing my evening routine and not watch Netflix right before bed. I know she would want this, so I didn't watch it. Now I'm kicking myself because I just wanted to prep and learn a little bit more about minimalism, but then you told me you were in it. I was like, oh no.
Well, I'd love to know what you think. I thought it was really, I think there's so many fantastic stories within the movie, and it's beautifully shot. I think you're going to really enjoy it.
Well, thank you. I'm sure I will. Courtney, I've taken enough of your time, so thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and some of your ideas. If people want to find out more about you and what you're up to, or just thank you for coming on, where can I point them to?
They can go to the blog, BeMoreWithLess.com, and my social media handle on almost every platform is @BeMoreWithLess. So I'm pretty easy to find.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on. I can't wait to look at all of your clothes in March and continuing to watch your journey and hopefully help my own personal journey with decision fatigue, with simplicity, and with, as the name of your blog just so aptly says, is being more with less. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Zach.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Able Business Radio. Zach wants to help more small business owners like you make 1% improvements that add up to big results. Was this show helpful? Pay it forward. Subscribing and writing a review in iTunes is one of the best ways to help more people find out about the show. Thanks again for tuning in. We hope to see you here next Wednesday, where we will continue to share 1% improvements that will help you become a more useful, less stressed business owner.